So today we'll have two little poems. I don't know why these, I just like them. Are you familiar with either poet?
Well, not exactly.
Anything about Anakreon?
Well, he was a Greek poet and a very popular one at that. I understand there are numerous statues depicting Anakreon. I also understand there are sort of numerous translations of Anakreon's poems, including into English, well, Russian hopefully, etc. So he is one of the founding fathers of poetry.
His. So what was so special about him? Well, in short, while everybody was busy being very serious and writing about heroes and gods and things, he was quite light, quite ironical, really nice. He has lots of like lyrical poetry, which people say it's like love poetry, or it's about wine, or it's about some little joys. And that makes him stand out. And today we'll read one of his poems. So we don't really have many of his poems, and most of them came to us in fragments, little fragments, and most of them are later copies, but we are lucky to have him. And we'll read this translation. Who made the translation? Somebody called, what's his name? Walter Headlam. And it's such an amazing translation. It's really good. It's a poem in itself, so when you read it, you don't want to look at the original, because sometimes you read the translation and you feel like something's missing, but you read this translation, it's perfect. So we'll just have a look at it. So it's called the Thracian Filly, because he used to live in Thrace. He lived in one place, then he moved to Thracia, then he moved to Athens, then something else. So, the Thracian Filly. Ah, tell me why you turn and fly, my little Thracian filly shy. Why turn askance that cruel glance, and think that such a dance am I? Or am I blessed with ample wit to fix the bridle and the bit, and make the bend each turning end, and harness all the course of it? But now 'tis yet the meadow free, and frisking it with merry glee, the master yet has not been met, to mount the car and manage thee. Oh, what can you tell me about this little poem? How do you feel? What is it about? Anything interesting?
Well, it's all very interesting, despite of the fact that I don't really feel I understand a lot in the poem. Rather, I think what I feel is the rhythm of the English translation, which is indeed light. I would even light. I would say gameful, if that's the right word. Something that makes it an easy and pleasurable thing to read, no matter whether you understand or misunderstand some of the ideas in the poem.
Yeah, because we have all those rhymes and inner rhymes and simple words. We don't have anything difficult in it. So I think it's based on like folklore, folk songs, which are like this. Why fly shy? Yeah.
Yeah, so it's easy. These are all
Downs.
playful, easy rhymes, and a good thing about it is that sort of when you know that something is a piece of ancient Greek poetry, you probably expect something heavy, and as you said, something that is epic, as Homer was epic, something that relates to gods and goddesses and heroes. So either gods or superhumans.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas here we are faced with something light, something that looks humorous, sounds humorous, sounds sort of like a light piece of poetry, and that comes absolutely unexpected.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because if you look at Greek philosophy, Greek point of view, then what happens when you die? Well, nothing good, basically.
Nothing good.
If you're Greek, then there's nothing good.
Okay.
So he did have some hymns as well. He did have some of it. But he also had lots and lots of light poetry. Maybe other people had light poetry too, and it just never survived. But still, as I was saying, if you're Greek, then you're not expecting anything good after you die. You only have your earthly life, and then you become a faceless shadow, and then you just keep forgetting everything.
Yeah, which contributes to the famous Greeks' joy of life.
Yeah, so your life is hard, it's heavy. It's heavy because you're not expecting anything good after it.
Or maybe it's
You look
just
at philosophy, it's all really, maybe that's why you have philosophy, because that's all that is left to you. Maybe. So people can take different approach to it, but in general, it's all about your virtue. Virtue is important.
yes.
And gods and goddesses, like you said. But here it's different. Here he's really light-headed. He doesn't think, or he's not afraid, or he doesn't care about what's going to happen to him after death. He's enjoying life, he's enjoying the moment. So what is the poem about?
That is a little bit difficult to say.
Why?
Why does this little filly turn and fly?
Because it's a free filly. It's
Okay.
wild. It's not tamed. And,
Okay.
why? He asks why. He doesn't know why.
Yes,
He's
he asks why.
Yeah.
So he expects something, but of course you might say that it is not about, the poem is not about filly, really, but about something else.
Which it is, as always. So what is a filly? Who is a filly?
Well, the filly, as far as I understand, is not just Philadelphia, but it's also a sort of a young horse.
It is.
And
A young female horse.
And a young female horse.
Mm-hmm.
So unlike Steed, who is a male representative of that, it's something female and something very young and obviously gracious.
Yeah. So we have all sorts of words for different kinds of horses. So here it's a filly. Filly like silly. Very nice. So is it about a horse?
As we look at it, trying to only get the literal meaning, then the answer is yes, it is. It's about the filly and the filly's master and
Master to be.
Master to be, and the first line already establishes this somewhat peculiar relationship between them two. But of course, there's nothing that prevents us from going from that surface layer just a little bit deeper. By saying that, it's easy to say a filly, a young female horse, is just a symbol for a young female.
Yeah, exactly.
Which brings us back to last week's discussion about taming and conquering women as traditional symbols of male-female relationship.
So a horse is very interesting because a horse has really many meanings. Here, I think he just means a female, a girl. But if you look past it, if you look past what he was meaning to say, and what else can you see in it? A horse is also a part of us. So we have the couple, the rider, the master, and the horse. And again, we can read it very differently. We have lots of poems on the subject. So the horse can be a wild element in your nature, or it's a free element in your nature. Like you have the man, who is reason, and you have horse, animal, like intuition. Or a horse is a servant to a man. A horse is independent, and yet it carries the man. It gets the man somewhere. So in that sense, the man is dominant. It's yourself. And the horse could be your body, or could be your mind, could be your ego, maybe. So it depends on how you develop it, how you look at it. Maybe you can apply some of these ideas to this poem as well, because it really reminds me of a more modern fable. I don't know when it appeared, maybe a long time ago, maybe not so long time ago, but it goes like that. And it's like about yourself and your discipline. And somebody has a horse, a stallion, and the horse is tied, it's harnessed. And the other person asks, like, why do you have your horse in a harness? Look, it's such an obedient, such a nice, good horse. And the answer is, well, it is obedient as long as it's in a harness. The second you let it free, it goes wild. You have to keep it tied at all times, lest it goes wild. So that's about your inner discipline. That's about your mind and your ego, that fable. So if we turn to this poem, let's just let's just say it's about horses, let's just say it's about love, let's just say it's about a girl. It doesn't really matter, because what we look at is the relationship, obviously. So what is the relationship? What should it be? What do we expect it to be? And what is it? And what is so interesting about it? So we have a filly and a man.
Yeah, we have a filly and a man, and to the poet, it is only natural that the relationship between the two can easily be represented by taming of a young horse. If we only look at it, as you said, as this bit of male-female relationship, then to the poet, there's nothing strange about it. It only seems natural, and again, it is also part of pleasure. It is probably somebody's pleasure to tame a real horse. If you succeed, then probably you can feel very proud of yourself. It is usually a pleasure to a man, at least in that sort of poetry and probably elsewhere, to tame a young and beautiful woman, so to speak.
In what way? In what way is it pleasant?
And in what way is a good question, because I think, again, this poem does not exclude the very physical side of love. There's sort of passion. Again, love and passion are not necessarily the same thing, but there's the passion that both of the sides of the issue, both parties feel. The passion to get hold of a young woman, and the passion maybe to escape or maybe not. And as these two passions collide,
well, it doesn't really tell much about passion here. When you read it, it's really light. It's not about passion. It's not even about love, I think. It's about something different. It's about partnership. Something more deeper than just passion. It's partnership. When they learn to work together. Yeah. So in the first stanza we have the conflict. Ah, tell me why you turn and fly, my little Thracian filly shy. So what is his feelings to the horse, to the girl?
Well, taken literally, the poet or the man who says the first two lines is surprised. Why do you want to escape, he asks. Why do you flee from me? But again, it doesn't take us it doesn't take much effort to see just a little bit below that, because this surprise might be just a mask, a pose, because he expects her to flee from him. That's part of the game.
Yeah, it is.
As you mentioned, the partnership that is developing between the two. It's I always have to get with that. Sorry, that's something that needs taming a little bit. The partnership that is developing between the two is basically what happens when the two parties are both ready to perform their roles. They both know what the other party is expect. Again, that brings us back to last week's discussion. You expect the man to be a sort of a conqueror or someone who tames you. Your role in that equation is to flee or pretend to be fleeing. Again, there are certain pieces
excuse me, again, if you look at the last poem and this poem, it's the same, indeed. They have a lot in common, but it's not just to flee. We have really strong women in both cases. A man who thinks he's the master, and a woman who is his mistress, who is stronger than him, who can hold him, who is at least equal to him. She is not below him. She's not just an animal. She's a free creature, and he is domesticated. He doesn't have that power.
Yeah.
She's stronger than him. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Again, if you think of the situation, it's not just someone. Well, I think in this poem at least, he is not sort of starving. He might be okay, but it's the woman is empowered to inflame passion in the man, and while he becomes passionate about her, while he wants to get hold of her,
if you excuse me for a second, there's something strange happening. Okay, where were we? Okay, yeah, so male, female. So what we can see here is he's kind of has fatherly maybe feelings towards this filly, because he says, my little Thracian filly shy. So he doesn't say, you stupid animal. He says, my little filly. There's love in it, there's a smile in it, like, you're running away from me, but you don't know why, because you just don't know. You're a filly, you don't understand it. Why? You don't know why. You can't say why, because you don't know. But I know that I don't mean you any harm. I know it's going to be good. Yeah. I know I know why you fly, because you're shy. You don't understand yourself. You don't see it. And that's good. That means you're innocent. That you're innocent. You're still learning. And that's the beauty. You can see the development. How the character opens up from shy to loyal. Yeah. So now you turn and fly. Now there's no connection, or you think there's no connection yet, but I know it's already here. I can feel it. I know it. Why turn askance that cruel glance and think that such a dance am I? So it's like talking to a little child. Yeah. Why pretending? Why are you doing it? You're just a little baby. You're just a child. You think you're an adult. You think you're very serious and self-important, but really you're just a child. And I treat you like a very patient parent. You think you're cruel. I love you because I call you my little filly shy. And you don't trust me yet. You're cruel. You look at me. You turn and turn, and you think I'm stupid, but you think that such a dance am I, which is like dancing. It's a very good translation. It's really beautiful. Askance, glance, dance. So really it's a dance. What is happening between them is a dance of polarities, or complementaries.
Yeah, that attract.
Mm-hmm. So turn askance, and again asking. He's asking. She's turning askance and just glancing at him and running wild. And he's watching her, and he enjoys it. He admires her freedom. Mm-hmm.
He admires her freedom, and there's not only freedom. Line 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No, 4 says that cruel loss. So there's certain shyness, but askance is not only about being shy, but also about being suspicious.
Yeah.
And cruel glance is even more extreme.
In what sense is it cruel? Is it cruel because she's evil, or is it cruel because it's a glance of not trusting him, and he knows that there's no reason of not to trust him?
Yeah, because it's cruel because probably that reflects him.
Mm-hmm.
She's not cruel, but she might fear that he is cruel.
Mm-hmm.
And if she is to lose her freedom, then that's basically an important... Depriving someone of freedom is quite cruel indeed. And that's what she's fearing. What he's saying is basically, yes, while you are with me, you are not going to be very, very, very free. I know that you love your freedom, but that's going to stop. But then you'll get something else in return. Maybe you'll get me in return. Somehow she, at least in the first stanza, she's not ready to accept that bargain. Exchanging her freedom for his love, for his... Well, the word passion...
It's not passion.
Again,
there's no passion.
There's no passion for his desire, let's say.
There's no desire as such.
There's no desire.
I guess. Yeah, and she thinks he's stupid. But he says it's a dance. Because if somebody comes to tame you, and you think they are stupid, then you're not going to be tamed. If they are stupid.
Unless they overpower you.
By their stupidity.
Well, maybe.
Maybe.
By their stupid cruelty, maybe.
Maybe. So that's dancing around, step by step, looking into eyes, and playing the game of character. Where did they go again? Stupid. Oh dear. Oh, I am blessed with ample wheat to fix the bridle and the bit, and make the bend, each turn and end, in harness all the course of it. It's beautiful. Oh, this little poem is absolutely beautiful. So, you think I'm stupid, you think I can't hold you, you think you're wild and cool and amazing, but no. I'm different from you. You're powerful because you're free. You have these sudden wild magic, but I have a different kind of magic. I have the magic of discipline. I know how to handle you. I am blessed with ample wheat. So ample wheat or this ability, let's say, that skill, comes from where?
Well, again, you might say that it is sort of magic, but it's at least taken a bit literally. It is not at all magical. it is quite physical. You can touch it, you can see it, you can basically explain how the bridle and the bit work, how the harness works. And that is in opposition to the magic that she possesses.
Mm-hmm.
It seems that she doesn't do anything. And yet, well, she doesn't do anything. She doesn't arrive at his home to say, I want to play a little game with you. I want to be harnessed, or I don't want to end up losing my freedom. She's just there, and by the very fact of being there, she inspires him she inspires this taming operation.
Mm-hmm.
And he is cruel in a sort of a very mechanistic way, because there are mechanisms, there are machines that he's using to conquer her, to tame her. I'm blessed with ample wit to fix the bridle and the bit. So there are certain things that were invented, not by me, but by someone who is obviously much wittier than I am. But I know how to operate these things. And these things are strong and cruel enough to make the bend each turning end.
Okay, my question was, where does his wit come, his ability?
It comes from being able to use mechanisms.
No,
it doesn't.
No, it doesn't. It comes from God or gods or the divine, because he says, I'm blessed. It's his blessing. It's something that is intrinsic to him. It's not his work. He is just made this way, if you may. It's a gift from God. Because you can't do it otherwise. You can't do it by reasoning. You can only feel it. You can only magic it. How to fix the bridle and the bit. You can't reason it, because each time it would be different. Each time there's an infinity of possibilities. Each time you can't calculate it, you can only feel. So he says, I'm blessed. It's a blessing. Yeah. And again, you may say, maybe the horse is your wild side, which is enormously powerful, but unless you tame it, unless you become partners, unless you fix the bridle and the bit, then it's just running wild. It might be destructive, might be cruel. It's just around, but just a force of nature. But when you come to be partners, when you learn to work with it, when you learn how to bring your discipline to it, then you become truly powerful, because then you work together, maybe. So she is free, and he came to fix her, to make it more static, more orderly, because we need order and we need chaos. We need a good measure. If it's just chaos, if it's just chaotic, there's nothing, it's just all wild. If it's all order, again, it's nothing, it's all repetitive, it's all predictable. But when the two start working together, that's when you get the best results. So we have, basically what happens here, we have the force of order, him, and the force of chaos, her, meeting together, and this is what is happening. I'm blessed with ample wit to fix the bridle and the bit, and make the bend, each turn and end, and harness all the cores of it. So I can make you bend, I can be dominant, each turn in end. So you turn and fly, you turn askance that cruel glance, but I can make you bend each turn in end. So it's turning, it keeps turning. Who is in power? Who is in power? He's in power, she's in power, he's in power, she's in power. It's turning, turning, turning. Now she's free. Now he talks about harnessing. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
But now 'tis yet the meadow free, and frisking it with merry glee. The master yet has not been met to mount the car and manage thee. Your comments?
Well, does it really mean that this thing, the taming, has not happened yet?
Mm-hmm.
And what he's saying is, well, yes, you are free, you are merry, because so far there had been no one to dominate you. The master has not been met. You are still free.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what? That is soon going to end.
Okay, if you excuse me for another minute or two. Nice. Okay. Now 'tis yet the meadow free, and frisking it with merry glee. The master yet has not been met to mount the car and manage thee. So we have one side, the other side, and somewhere in between. So we see the horse's point of view, we see his point of view. So her future is more or less fixed because he is present in the picture. But at the same time, now she's in between. She's neither tamed nor really free because he's already there. Yeah. So she may not know it, but he watches her and he knows it. "'Tis yet the meadow free," again, now you are free, "and frisking it with merry glee." Now you're free, you're happy, you're dancing around. Merry and glee, two very good words here. And then merry turns to master. So the master is merry, meadow, merry, master, if you follow the sound of the poem. So the master is not a cruel master. It's not the master who will just keep you on a chain all the time. It's a merry master. And the master yet has not been met. Which is again a bit funny because he is the master and they have met. But he hasn't started his taming yet. And that's what she thinks, maybe the master yet has not been met. And again, now we have these order, the master and who?
Well, the master and the servants.
Or, so the word master can mean different positions.
Yes, it can.
So either we think it's the master and the servant, in which case the horse is like a servant, subservient, obedient. Or we think the master as somebody who has a skill, like a teacher, in which case we have the master and the disciple, which could be true. So of course we have somebody in power, could be the master like the master, or can be the master like the teacher, somebody who is more powerful than this powerful but free a bit stupid, silly creature. Yeah, and he knows how to harness it. He's like a
maybe
teacher.
that's the only thing he knows.
Hmm?
Maybe that's the only thing he knows.
Maybe that's his task. Maybe that's why he's in the first place. Because as long as it's running free, it's a bit meaningless. But once the horse, the filly, this wild side, learns to control itself, learns to wear the harness, then it starts being awesome. Then it starts being really creative. So what kind of a master is it? Is it the master, lord, or is it the master teacher? Master as somebody skillful?
Well, you can also, if we follow that metaphor, it can be a poet who masters the art of writing. Instead of chaotic words, jumbled words, there appears a masterpiece.
So it's really fantastic because we hold the moment, and at the same time we know the past and the future, and the horse doesn't, and he does. And we have this absolutely amazing sense of freedom, wild power, and the order coming to it again in a good way, dancing and loving and laughing. It's really like, not like lovers, really more like a child, a teacher and a child, when the child can be all grumpy and unwilling and just wanting to run around. But the teacher knows that discipline is good for this child. Then the child will be really, really amazing and creative, apparently. And of course, lots of, maybe it's a spell, maybe we don't need to think that much about the meaning, maybe we're just supposed to listen to it. Tell me why you turn and fly, turn. Tell me why you turn and fly, my little Thracian filly shy. Why turn askance that cruel glance, and think that such a dance am I? Again, here we have a little pause because it rhymes, askance, glance and dance. And then, think that such a dance am I? Could be, such a dance am I? Beautiful. Oh, I am blessed. So am I? I am. Again, rhyming, dancing. Am I? Oh, I am. Blessed with ample wheat to fix the bridle and the bit, and make thee bend, brittle bit, bend, and make thee bend each turning end, in harness all the cause of it. All the cause of it, of course, all the course. But now 'tis yet the meadow free, and frisking it with merry glee. The master yet has not been met to mount the car and manage thee. So we have all those M words, all rhyming, all gluing together. Meadow, merry, master, mount, manage. Or maybe we're just supposed to listen to it. Maybe. Cats. So anything else we can say here?
Well, lots of dimensions to this poem. which makes it even more interesting and beautiful.
For example?
Well, you mentioned them, so we can just listen to the sounds and find our inspiration in meditating over what's in the sound. We can see it as a picturesque description of a real young horse, female horse, being harnessed by a strong and skillful man who's going to be the horse's master. We can see it as the relationship between a man and a woman, or we can see it as the relationship between two levels, two layers of our egos, the powerful and disciplined one, and the wild and creative or chaotic one. And
we can call it egos, just different aspects of self.
Different
apparently.
aspects of the self, yes.
So apparently we have to have the polarities. So a man and a woman, a man and a girl. It's like, again, back to China, the Chinese principles of yin and yang. And the man represents the order, or the order represents the man, and the female represents the freedom and being wild and free. Yeah, so I think it's a really, really good poem. Now shall we turn to the second one? Shall we turn to the second poem?
Yes, I think so.
So this one was written in a place somewhere far away, or maybe not that far away. It's the same old planet in the first place, and it's like 1,000 and more years later, but still it has something similar in the air of it, the same kind of laughing irony, I guess. So this one is Robert Browning, quite classical, and it's his Home Thoughts from Abroad. Again, if you look at the first poem, then Thrace wasn't his home, he had to move here. So again, he was writing from abroad, in a sense. Okay, so Browning, Home Thoughts. Oh, to be in England, now that April's there, and whoever wakes in England sees some morning unaware that the lowest boughs and the brushwood sheaf round the elm tree bole are in tiny leaf, while the chaffinch sings on the orchard bough. In England now, and after April, when May follows, and the white-throat builds, and all the swallows, hark! Where my blossomed pear tree in the hedge leans to the field and scatters on the clover blossoms and dewdrops at the band spray's edge. That's the wise thrush. He sings each song twice over, lest you should think he never could recapture the first fine careless rapture. And though the fields look rough with hoary dew, and all will be gay when noontide wakes anew, the buttercups, the little children's dower, far brighter than this gaudy melon flower. Impressions, comments?
Well, again, the literal layer says something about the process we witnessed just a few weeks ago and might witness today also. What people sometimes call the awakening of nature. This is the beauty of early spring that becomes pronounced sometime in mid-spring, in April, and develops fully already in May.
Mm-hmm.
And many people, probably everyone, likes seeing those changes that are probably felt in a very special way here in Russia, where the contrast between winter and summer is big.
Yeah, we don't care about
we don't care, yeah.
Not very much. We care about this specific poem. So,
yeah.
If we get a bit more specific.
Well, if we get a bit more specific, then we are transported into England. That's the first line.
Mm-hmm.
And again, understood literally, it depicts beautiful England during the months of spring, April and May. And again, there's nothing that prevents us from picturing this image in our minds.
Yeah, so what is his attitude? What are his feelings?
Well, his feelings are, well, I wouldn't call it nostalgia. Mm-hmm. He's writing the poem from abroad, that's the heading. And he's thinking about home. And when you are abroad and you're thinking about home, everybody says it's nostalgia. But as far as my first understanding of the poem is concerned, there's nothing tragic about the poem. There's much light in it.
Mm-hmm.
There's expectation and hope in it. And the good thing about the hope is that it is well founded. Mm-hmm. Because what we know is that winter will be followed by spring and April will be followed by May. And
okay, so if we don't have the title like Home Thoughts from Abroad, would you even guess that he's writing from abroad?
No, not at all.
No. He just transports himself there completely, and as to how he feels, he's really emotional. He's not trying to write a clever, long poem. We have phrases like, in England now, or like, and the white-throated birds and all the swallows, and he doesn't even finish, because there's no need for it. He can recapture, as he says here, he can recapture every moment, because if you really, really miss your home, then you can imagine it, you can remember it to the tiniest detail, and as you remember it to the tiniest detail, you recreate it. It's like in that amazing poem which we discussed on Shakeyburns a long while ago, Kerr's Ass, about an Irishman in London, and you never understand that it's him in London until the last line that he just remembers, and he brings Ireland, his small place, the muck in Ireland, to London, and he turns London into that place in Ireland, because he remembers, he can name it, and it's like about the same. If you describe it, if you go into every detail, you make it happen, you make it real, and no matter where you are. So we don't know where he is now, we don't know we are in England, because that's where he brings us. To be in England, like you say, the first line, and we are transported immediately into England. We name England, so we bring it here by naming. Now that April's there, and the time of the year, so we set it immediately. very straightforwardly coding it. And whoever wakes in England, so you're asleep. If you're not in England, you're asleep. You're not really alive. You're just half alive, half dead. You're sleeping. You're not aware. But if you're in England, then you are fully awake. When you're in England, that's where real life is. Whoever wakes in England, whoever, me, you, anyone, sees some morning unaware. So again, we have these playful connections, waking and unaware. Waking means you're aware, but you look and you caught unaware because you don't expect it. Because spring comes without notice, it just appears some morning. So we have all these positive, beautiful images. Waking, morning. Life is starting in England. Sees some morning unaware that the lowest boughs and the brushwood sheaf around the elm tree bole are in tiny leaf. So we name it, we say it. We say the brushwood sheaf, we say the elm tree, and then tiny leaf. Again, it's just the beginning. Nature just waking up. We have the elm tree, which is big, and then we see tiny leaves. So the boughs are bare, but now they have really tiny leaves, but that's enough. A tiny leaf is everything. Life is here, life is here. While the chaffinch sings on the orchard bough. In England now. Again, we name our birds, we know our birds. Chaffinch. Do you know chaffinch?
Well,
do
not
you
really.
have chaffinches in Russia?
I think we do, because
we do.
I think we do, but
we do. It's about the size of a sparrow, maybe a bit smaller, and it has a bit of reddish, bluish stuff in it. It's a very common bird in all Europe, including Russia. Chaffinch. We have lots of finches: a goldfinch, a greenfinch, chaffinch, real finch, unreal finch. And again, if you say chaffinch, it's like I don't know, like saying sparrow or blue-tip or something, a common bird. It's not a rare bird, it's everywhere. It's a rural bird, mostly, mainly. And you can hear it, because when he says the elm tree, you can see the elm tree. When he says the chaffinch sings, you can hear it. So we can see and we can hear. And maybe we can smell it too, because if you wake in England, there's this special smell to a British morning, which smells of fog, of something fresh and something mossy. So maybe you can smell it too. While the chaffinch sings on the orchard bough. So we have lots of boughs here. In England now. So we start with England, and again, in case if you forgot that was England, we name it again. It's the same as when you are talking about the psalm. How if it's a religious text, then you repeat the name of the deity of the god or goddess, whoever it is whoever it is dedicated to. So if it's dedicated to England and you miss it, then you want to repeat England, England. In England now. And again you repeat now. You say, I'm not dreaming, I'm not remembering, I am there now. Yeah. If I was remembering, that would be, oh, last April, it reminds me of last April in England. Or when I'll be back to England, then maybe it will be like this. No, he says now. It's direct transportation. It's a teleport. Now, in England, now. To be in England now. Bow in England now. And again, bow like a bough of a bush or a tree, and bow like bowing, maybe. Comments?
Well, yes, so there's a sense of immediacy about it, which probably is part of what makes it a beautiful poem.
Yeah, because we are present, because we are not often present. We think about future, we think about past, we don't notice the present moment very often. Okay, there's a chaffinch. There's a chaffinch for you. I'm sure you've seen the bird. It's quite common. Let me send you the image. Chaffinch. They come to gardens. They're lovely birds. Right. And then we have a little pause. And then we continue. And after April, when May follows, so now it's April, but he doesn't stop here. He can time travel. He can fast forward. After April, when May follows, and the white-throat bills and all the swallows, you can't stop. You're just too much in love to stop. Again, you have more birds. You have the white-throat, you have swallows, so you have now 3 kinds of birds. And they're all different, and they all bring you to different realities. The chaffinch, who is like a garden bird, and the white-throat, who are, well, I guess they're a bit more wild, and the swallows, who live in the sky. So you look into different places, and it's all full of life, and it's all different, and you know them by their names as you look at them, because you love them, because it's your dominion, it's your home. Hark! Where my blossomed pear tree in the hedge. Now we have the elm tree, now we have the pear tree. Again, we look at them, we see them, we know our trees, we know our spirits who live there. We have the hedge, we have blossoming pear tree, and if you've seen blossoming pear tree, it's really beautiful. Leans to the field and scatters on the clover blossoms and dewdrops. So every little detail. How the pear tree drops its petals, its blossoms on the clover, not just grass, but clover, and dewdrops, like tears, like little tears, maybe, or like diamonds, maybe. At the band spray's edge. So we make the picture bigger and bigger. We have the sky, because we have swallows. We have all the big blue sky. Now we have the field, which again is a big open space. And now we have some water in it. We have dewdrops, then it becomes spray, spring, spray. And it's bent. It's not, again, it's not domesticated. It's not human-made. It's natural. It belongs there. It's bent. It's the edge. It's another reality. You need to be bent to in relation to this reality. It appears to be bent, and you need to cross the edge to get there, apparently. Again, spray or spring is usually like a border of reality. Blossoms, blessings, maybe. That's the wise thrush. So as we get our blessing, blossom, and we cross the edge, we become wise. It's only the wise who can get there, the wise thrush. So that's another bird. So it's full of birds, and each bird has a song. Each bird is different. Each bird has its magic. And he knows all of them. They're all his friends. He can become any of them. So the swallows are free, and the thrush is wise. Yeah. So it's again, it's the description of the place. It's the description of the state. If you are in England, then you're free. Then you're wise. Then you're happy. He sings each song twice over, lest you should think he never could recapture the first fine careless rapture. Now that's a very interesting remark. What can you tell me about it? Why say he sings each song twice over, lest you should think he never could recapture the first fine careless rapture? Because the wise thrush is obviously like a poet, because he's singing, and he's wise, and the poets are wise in some way.
Yeah.
So why would he sing each song twice over?
Because he probably attributes some sort of form to his poetry, and he knows that sometimes there needs to be a structure. Sometimes the structure is achieved by repeating some of the lines several times.
Can we see it in this poem? Yes, we can, because now first he describes April, then he describes May. So basically he sings his song twice over. Or maybe because twice over, it's not just a singularity, it's not linear anymore. It becomes double. So you can be in two places at the same time. You can be somewhere and in England at the same time, in parallel. So he sings each song twice over, lest you should think he never could recapture the first fine careless rapture. So we have the first fine careless rapture, which is like just inspiration, and then if you can repeat it, then you're a master. Then it's not just an accident. Then you know your skill. Because just I don't know, playing some music by ear, suppose, or something, improvising, it's not that difficult. What is difficult is to repeat it, to fix it. If you repeat it, you fix it twice, but better yet, thrice. Because what you say thrice is true, as Lewis Carroll suggests. I guess that's true. Yeah. Any comments?
Well, yes, and there's, again, a sense of carelessness about it. Mm-hmm. So you are not just trying hard as a bird, as a chaffinch, as a thrush now, to sing your song. It's not your job. It's not something that you have to do to earn your living. It's something that you do because you derive pleasure from it. It's something that you do, probably even unaware that others also derive pleasure from it. But
well,
that's
maybe
of no
you
concern
do.
to you.
Maybe you do, because He is self-aware. He knows that somebody is listening. You should think, yeah, you. He knows you are listening, and he repeats it. So it's not just careless inspiration. He is careful about his careless inspiration because he can repeat it. He can hold his state. He can hold his position, his spirit, his position in spirit. And though maybe it's the first fine careless rupture which brings him there, but then he needs to pay attention and to make some effort to keep it, maybe. And though the fields look rough with horrid dew, all will be gay when noontide wakes anew the buttercups, little children's dower, far brighter than this gaudy melon flower. So again we have lots of nice images. We return to the fields. The fields look rough with horrid dew. So what is the field? Maybe it's a big capital F field, the field which generates reality, basically. And as you cross to this other reality, then the field may look rough to you at first, with horrid dew, because you just arrived, your perception isn't quite adjusted to it, maybe. It looks rough, but it isn't rough. It just looks rough to you. But then again, we have dew again, like with the pear tree. All will be gay. So gay is a beautiful word, and it's a pity it's so much misrepresented these days. So gay and merry and fey, that's some words which we really need to save, to bring them back in their glory. So all will be gay, all will be happy when noontide wakes in you. So you wake again, amazing. You wake up in the morning, but you're not fully awakened. You need time to adjust to this reality. Then at noontide you wake anew. So was it a dream in a dream? So you weren't fully awakened? But now it's noontide, and noontide is a beautiful word. A noon, like midday, and tide, like a sea tide coming. So this highest point, again, this flow of what, life, energy, music, magic, noontide, flow of time. Wakes in you. The buttercups. So now we have buttercups. We have lots and lots of flowers, plants, birds in it. We don't have any animals or insects, but we have lots of plants and birds in it. So what are buttercups? Have you seen buttercups?
Well, I probably have, without knowing they are buttercups.
Like small and bright yellow, in great numbers usually. Kind of glossy. Let's see if we can find the image. Buttercups. I think you have them in Russia too. So again, they are like wildflowers and they grow everywhere, a bit like dandelions in that sense, but I think they're a bit poisonous if you eat them. You're not supposed to eat them. They're poisonous to animals, like, but they're really bright, really cheerful, and children like to play with them because they're so nice and bright. So let's find some good image so we could see what it's like. You've probably seen them. So that's a close-up. Copy the link. find the link. Can you see it?
I can just click on it.
Oh, it's supposed to be a picture. It's supposed to show as a picture.
Oh yeah.
So you might know them. They grow in like great quantities. They're really tiny and really fairy happy.
Yeah,
The
I
little
think I've seen
children's dower. So when you come there, you're like a child. You're full of childishness, childish wonder, and love and attention. And all is magical to you. Then we have the word dower, which is a bit weird to see in here. Far brighter than this gaudy melon flower. What's wrong with the melon flower?
it's not bright enough.
Yeah, so it's big. If you see in the melon flower, then it's much bigger. Then again, it's something that you grow specifically in your garden, so it's more like an adult thing. Buttercups are where the fairies live. They're wildflowers, they're for children, and the melon flower requires some work. It's domesticated, it's not wild, it's not free. It's big, it's adult. So he says the buttercups are brighter than the melon flower, meaning like the child in you is brighter than the worker, than the gardener. But we still love it. It's like gaudy melon flower. We still enjoy it. We still love it. Again, we look at the different sides of reality. We have the children's buttercups and the adults' melon flowers, but they're both flowers. They're still flowers. And if it's bright, it doesn't mean it's better or worse, it's just different. But we have the word bright, brighter, so it's gay and it's bright, and that's what we see when we are transported to England. Comments?
Yeah. And it does seem that we are transported. It does seem that we are there. And probably while we're reading it and discussing, we are to a certain extent.
Well,
yeah.
Anything else?
No, I don't think so.
Well, then we may just finish phrase, finishing, grace. Well, they say lots and lots of bits and parts of our culture really comes from Thrace and from Phoenicia. And then it came to like Europe, to Britain. But really, if you trace it, you trace it to Thrace. Okay, well, let's finish.